The enemy reveals itself as a giant troll, and on Major's order, his team ring loud bells to distract the troll while the soldiers bombard it with guns and explosives. The bells and bullets increase the troll's anger, so the troll tosses a tree at the church bell, and the Major watches his team collapse. Watching his army crumble, the Major commands them to retreat, and when they do, he detonates the holy water bombs. Water bombs work at first, but then they stop working. Seeing as the water bombs failed, the commander and his team scramble to safety. While they are running away, another growl from a distance ripples through the air, and the second troll reveals itself, and charges towards the first one and throws a punch, but soon enough, the first troll holds its opponent's head and smashes it into the bridge. On a random night, Norah's mom walks in on her husband telling Norah a story about the great troll battle to call him to bed.
Let's pause the story there, alright?
Bummed, Norah tries to convince her mom to let her dad continue. She turns to her father to get him to continue, and when her dad caves, Norah's mom stops her husband. Norah's dad promises to continue later.
We'll save the rest for later.
And kisses his daughter goodnight. Now alone with her daughter, Norah's mom promises to take Norah to troll the world before singing a soft song about trolls while Norah's dad watches from a corner. 30 years later, an intruder enters a building and is ambushed by Norah, the homeowner. Just before she wounds him, the intruder reveals himself. Recognizing the intruder as Isaacson, one of her old pals, Norah releases him and turns around to check if he was followed, but Isaacson assures Norah he came alone. While snooping around, Isaacson beats around the bush about his visit. Norah, who is still wary of her friend, asks him to cut to the chase. Unwilling to cut to the chase, Isaacson mumbles that his group needs her help. Norah immediately reminds Isaacson that he swore to have left government-related projects behind.
Is it a national security thing? It's a secret and I'm supposed to go somewhere?
Isaacson tries to defend himself, but Norah doesn't give in to his crap. Still trying to defend himself, Isaacson tries to convince Norah that the government body has changed, but Norah insists they haven't. Regardless of her answer, Isaacson continues snooping around until he finds a book that brings them back to the memory of Norah's father. Suddenly, Isaacson looks at Norah proudly, making Norah look at him curiously. And after a few seconds of staring, Norah connects the dots. Norah agrees on Isaacson's terms, and at the research camp, Isaacson introduces Norah to the professor and his associate. While they joke around and discuss World War II, the professor leads the group into a guarded compartment, and when they enter the area, Norah is shocked to see a real-life troll standing across from her. Still in shock, Norah walks towards the troll, and Isaacson reveals that the creature is named Yoten. Following Isaacson's lead, the professor and his associate explain the security measures put in place in case Yoten tries to escape. Contrary to Isaacson's expectations, Norah isn't pissed about the facility detaining Yoten for experiments. And while she rants about it, Marion, the project leader, walks into the room. Seeing Norah's reaction, Marion reminds Isaacson of their agreement to keep Norah out of the project. But Isaacson points out that they need all the help they can get to keep their project afloat. After getting a half-arsed explanation from Isaacson, Norah tries to wrap her head around everything. While she does, Marion commends Norah for her heroics in Oslo before assuring her that the Yoten is hibernating. Adding on to her comments, Marion gets on Norah's nerves, and just as Norah is about to leave, Isaacson directs her into another compartment where she meets Siggy, his wife. Realizing Siggy is pregnant, Norah congratulates them, but Isaacson changes the topic to show a showcase that holds half of the Troll King's holy law to Norah. While Norah checks the scroll, Siggy mentions the origin of the scroll. Although Siggy and Isaacson are still talking about the scroll's origin, Norah sees the similarities between the scrolls and her father's stories. Breaking the atmosphere of the room, the professor and his associates talk about developing a troll eliminating machine. When Isaacson backs them up and turns to Norah for ideas, Norah lies about needing to go to the restroom. Norah sneaks into the troll prison, and even though she feels hesitant at first, Norah rests her palm on the troll's face and hums a lullaby. Just as Norah gives up singing, Yoten awakes from hibernation. The alarm calls everyone's attention, and all of a sudden, Yoten realizes it's chained to the ground and tries to break free. On the other hand, Marion spills coffee on the control panel to stop the professor from eliminating Yoten, and she deactivates the security measures in the process. Thanks to Marion's mistake, Yoten breaks free from the chains, and Isaacson, who has noticed this, warns Norah to brace herself. Under the same breath, the troll knocks Norah's lift off its rails. And while the chaos continues, the professor, hiding in a corner, grabs a specimen on the floor and watches his coworkers scramble. One of the workers gets crushed, making Isaacson drag Norah towards an escape route led by Siggy and Marion. The moment they burst out of the facility, the troll barges out of the roof. When it sees Norah, it walks away. Later on, Norah and the others link up with Chris, an old friend, who ushers them into his army van. In the van, Chris informs Norah that he's a major now, and Norah teases him over having a crush on Marion. At the Air Force Base, Norah argues with Marion over treating Yoten like a being with no inherent value. But when Isaacson tries to defuse the argument, the two girls shut him out instantly to continue their argument. Luckily for Isaacson, the Prime Minister walks in and introduces himself as Martin. After acknowledging everyone, Moraine calls for an emergency meeting. In the meeting, Marion tries to pitch her plan, but while she does, Norah cuts her off and reignites their former differences. Marion and Norah continue bickering until Martin shuts them up by ordering that Yoten should be terminated, effective immediately. After the meeting, Isaacson approaches Norah to cheer her up. To his surprise, his approach works, and Norah suddenly finds her drive again. She barges into Chris's meeting to get him to put her on his team, but Chris refuses despite Norah's insistence. When nothing seems to work, Norah pulls the father card, and Chris reluctantly agrees to let her on board. Moments later, while Chris and his buddy show Norah and Isaacson their troll-eliminating device, Marion waltzes in like a baddie, and Chris, who is mesmerized by her aura, offers to let her on board. As the others follow Chris into the chopper, Isaacson says goodbye to his wife and promises to come back alive. In another area, Yoten attacks a nightclub. And while Yoten feasts on random people, Chris and his team approach the area in their helicopter. In the chopper, Chris orders his men to activate the UV weapon. On command, the men start melting the troll with it. Norah asks Chris to give the troll some space, but Chris doesn't listen. And because of his negligence, Yoten crashes a pole into the second helicopter, causing Chris to call out to his friend. But after a deafening silence, Chris's friend bids Chris goodbye before letting go and allowing the chopper to crash into the ground. The crash angers Chris, and Chris tries to melt Yoten alone. Luckily for him, the troll walks away. After Yoten leaves, while Chris honors his friend's death, Marion and Norah bicker about trolls and their destructive and peaceful sides until Isaacson sarcastically asks if it's possible to communicate with trolls. Responding to Isaacson's rhetorical question, Norah reveals she knows who can help them communicate with Yoten. Following her promise, Norah leads the little group into a cave. And while they all follow Norah's lead, Yoten shows up in another area to ruin a poor old man's home. Back at the cave, Norah takes the crew to a cliff, before suddenly tapping her rock against the. In response to Norah's actions, a troll nicknamed Mountain King approaches them, and Norah orders Chris and Isaacson to slowly drop their weapons before stretching her hand to caress the monster's nose. She introduces Isaacson to the Mountain King. Just as the Mountain King bows, Norah pats it and hums a lullaby. Mountain King hums along, and Norah's friends tease her over being a troll whisperer. Following the troll whisperer's lead, Isaacson hums, and Mountain King responds just like he did to Norah. Outside the cave, Norah shoots a firearm to call Yoten's attention. And when Yoten approaches her, the Mountain King reveals himself to communicate with his pal. All of a sudden, the interaction starts to get hostile, and Yoten violently stomps the ice to sink the Mountain King. And immediately after the Mountain King sinks, Isaacson runs to the helicopter and calls out to Chris, who is helping Norah get off the shock of her troll friend's sinking. Thanks to Chris, Norah snaps into consciousness when Yoten starts chasing after them. And just as Chris and Norah manage to get into the chopper, Yoten swings its heavy arm to crash it, but it misses and watches them fly away. After flying for a while, the group stops at a fuel station where Norah rests and sulks over her memories with Mountain King. All of a sudden, a strange wind flings the map on the table away. When Isaacson picks it up, Marion recognizes an ancient route on the map. Marion's discovery allows Norah to piece together that Yoten is on a quest to Trondheim to avenge the Troll King. Under the same breath, the group lands in Trondheim and gets welcomed by Esther, Norah's dad's ex-colleague, who ushers them to a cathedral housing the Troll King's tomb. At the tomb's entrance, Isaacson clumsily knocks out a stone, and while he tries putting it in place, Esther approaches him. In an instant, Esther recognizes a pattern and follows it to create a keyhole. Picking on from where Esther stopped, Norah shoves objects into the holes before opening the tomb. Now that the tomb is open, Norah leads the crew inside and manages to convince Esther to allow her to open the Troll King's tomb. Suddenly, Norah drags out the other half of the troll law. After scanning it to Siggy, Siggy sends a collage of the two halves. After reading the complete scroll, Norah realizes that Yoten isn't coming for the Troll King. He's coming for them. In the city, shortly after Maren addresses the viral videos of troll attacks, Chris receives orders to leave Trondheim. Despite the order, Chris assures Norah and the others that he plans to stick with the team and avenge his friend. Everyone agrees to stick together, and the group gets to work. Thanks to Norah's book, they discover that holy water can cut through trolls, but Chris points out that they don't have enough holy water to fight a troll. Esther informs them that the Troll King's tomb is surrounded by holy water. Putting their plan in action, Norah and Chris recruit citizens to fetch gallons of holy water for the army to wrap bombs around them. Meanwhile, Isaacson meets Norah to prepare for the upcoming battle. At night, everyone goes to their supposed position. When Yoten finally approaches the city, Chris orders his men to get ready. The moment Yoten reveals itself, Isaacson and Esther sound the bell, and Chris orders his men to attack. The bell overstimulates Yoten, allowing the soldiers to rain bullets on it. Moments later, Yoten uproots a tree, throws it at the bell, and everything goes downhill from there. Chris explodes all the holy water on Yoten, but Yoten quickly recovers from it. Seeing that their plans had failed, everyone scrams, and mid-escape, Yoten turns around after hearing the Mountain King growl behind him. While Norah watches proudly, the Mountain King charges towards Yoten, and the two monsters with each other. Mountain King throws the first punch, but Yoten takes the lead and smashes Mountain King into the bridge. Pained that Mountain King is losing, Norah tries to help. As Chris tries to convince her to stay, Marion comes up with a plan to get the remaining holy water into Yoten and destroy him from the inside. While Yoten beats Mountain Kings up, Isaacson proposes they use the chopper and the bomb to implant the water. As others scramble to put the plan in motion, Norah goes to attack Yoten. Marion notices and joins her. Meanwhile, in the chopper, the holy water almost slips away. Isaacson manages to save it, but unfortunately loses the detonator in the process. However, on land, Norah and Marion have gotten Yoten's full attention. In the chopper, Chris hands Isaacson a hand grenade to replace the detonator. When Isaacson points out that someone has to sacrifice himself for it to work, Chris aggressively confirms it. On the ground, while Yoten is drowning Mountain King, Marion tries to get Norah to leave, but she doesn't. On the other hand, Isaacson agrees to sacrifice himself and calls Siggy to say his goodbyes. When the call disconnects, Isaacson grabs the water, jumps into the air, and activates the grenade right on time. All of a sudden, Yoten begins exploding from inside, and Mountain King, who is now awake, rips Yoten's heart and cries out in victory. A few months later, the group reunites, with two additional members, Siggy's child and Mountain King. And while they jubilate over their past victory, the professor rings his boss to tell him about the troll he had bioengineered. Norah and her crew take Yoten down despite the troubles and sacrifices Isaacson had to make. And as if the chaos and ruins one troll left behind aren't enough, the professor secretly bioengineers another troll to continue the experiments carried out on Yoten. What do you think would be the outcome of this new troll? Would it go crazy and terrorize the nation as Yoten did, or would it remain a secret project forever? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, guys. Peace out.